So you just link what pastor has set up for the online giving to the website, basically?
Well,
Or-
like the website and the app, like it has a giving portion, but it's just when it's given, it only shows in pastor's platform, not in the app.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Church Talk. I'm Rob, and we are here again with Anson and Rebekah Klein. You guys probably remember them from one of our previous episodes. We were talking about young adult ministry, but they also serve as the assistant pastors. And so we just wanted to talk with you guys a little bit about because our church is roughly between, I'm going to say, we're probably between the 120 to the 170 person mark. So as our church is growing and you guys have stepped into the role of the assistant pastors, kind of what have you found as kind of like your roles and your responsibilities of being an assistant to a church our size? Because I know you guys work jobs, so you're not full-time here at the church, but ministry is full-time no matter how we look at it. It's if you're paid or not, it's a full-time role. But what are some of the roles and responsibilities that you guys have with the church our size?
Again, thanks for having us. We're glad to be here and glad that we could share. It's not just it's not something that we come out on a Sunday and then it's over. We try to insert ourselves into that and make it not just about a day, but just like you said, ministries, even though we have full-time jobs away from the church, ministry, whether it's our job or, it is a full-time job, no matter what. So,
Sure.
And then,
I mean, we try to just assist our pastors, our lead pastors, as much as we possibly can, to try to take more off their plate, because leading a church, even of this size, I mean, it's a daunting, time-consuming, very hard job. So anything that we can do to assist them and take anything off that they can divvy out to us. But one thing with our new role too is we oversee the middle school and the high school. We're still trying to navigate and really figure out what that looks like. But the youth pastor and the middle school pastor could come to us with any needs that they may have, or the questions, or just support. Like, I feel like not only from me personally, it's not just supporting our pastors, it's supporting all of our pastors. Because a lot of times there's burnout. Yeah. And I really hope that we could encourage one another to stay unified and have that core group that we need to have to run a successful ministry.
and even as a small church, we're growing. We have had some growth recently, but we are constantly doing something, and that's a good thing. Is because it seems to engage the people and be involved. It seems to bring the people out and make them more together, to be able to have things to do that we can come together on a regular basis. And again, as I mentioned in the last video, we come together around food quite often, and we're just basing that off Jesus's ministry.
Yeah.
We can. Most people can agree gathering around food is a good idea.
That's right.
So, but we try, like we do announcements, try to open service, every Sunday. We're involved that way. We minister quite a bit. On Wednesdays, I do. She's involved with, she helps out with the kids, with the youth, our youth program and our kids program. So we're pretty busy with that, along, apart from our other things in life in general.
And
so.
I just feel like this church, all the pastors, all the deacons, all the elders, like, you don't just get in your ministry and, like, we all help every ministry out. It's not like you have your niche and and you stay there. It's that we just see a need a need, and we really try to help. If it's the Love Your Neighbor clothing closet, if it's the kids ministry, middle school, high school, I mean, we just really try to reach every group, every ministry.
Yeah. So with your all's position as the assistants, really you're in a sense you're helping to manage the ministry. You're helping to manage the almost really similar to what you guys are doing with the young adults, is facilitating things that are going on, and you're almost like a floating back and forth, going all kind of just being present in a lot of different areas and helping to manage what's happening, and that's really cool, because I've been a part of a lot of churches, and some being 50 members, some being 200 members, some being 100, and just a lot of different, and everybody seems to do their associates or their assistants, or maybe their worship pastor is on staff and he serves as an assistant also, or the youth pastor is on staff, so they kind of serve as an assistant. And so here we're not staffed as far as paid by the church, but we have good volunteers, and I think it's really cool how that you guys, you're not only the assistants, but there's some things that you guys are involved with within the structure of the church as well. I know there's the website the church has, and I know that you run the church app. And if you're looking at if you guys are involved in your home church and you've been wondering, how do we get an app? That sounds really cool. What's the process of that? Explain to us a little bit about how a church could set up a website, or how they can connect that website to an app, or how they can create it when they don't know anything about going that route.
Well, we wanted to create the app and the website to kind of bring everybody together. So it was a way, our main focus and the goal was to just everything to be accessible at one spot. Because we had the newsletter, we had announcements, we had like a text-a-mall, I think was the name of it. We had a one call, so it was like we were using several different platforms to get out our events and activities, but we really wanted something that was like a central location. So I just did a lot of homework trying to figure out which was the best route to do it. I'm not really a computer person. Sometimes I feel like I'm technologically challenged. But I started looking at what other churches were using, and I actually just scrolled to the bottom, and I saw like a copyright of Subsplash. So I looked up subsplash.com, and it is actually a church website and app producer. So that's what they do, is for churches. So there were several churches in the area, even larger churches than us, that was using it. So I just started getting on their website, seeing how the process. I started calling. So then I went to pastor and was like, hey, I have this idea. The way that it works is they have like a preset of ways that, like, websites. So you'll go onto their website once they create you an account, and it's not something that's hard. Like, I was able to build it. It took a lot of time. They were going to charge us, I think, $1,500 if they built it. But so I saved us the $1,500 there was a checklist. They went through the checklist of things we had to have, like a logo, basic information, bank account for the giving portion.
And that's something too we were talking beforehand, is about the bank account portion of that. When people go on the website, or not on the website, but on the app to give, you as the person who runs the app can't see any of that. That's all behind the scenes that goes to our pastor and financial board, or however that's structured. They're the only ones that see that, but you as the person who operates the app, you don't have any access to any of that. Is that?
That's correct. Yep. And the way, like Subsplash, when we signed up, we had to set administrators. So the administrator over that could see the financials and the website and app was pastor. And then I was the administrator over just the website and the app portion. So we have separate logins, separate passwords, and when I log into my app platform, I cannot see any of the financials. That's all him.
That's good to know. So if any of you guys are looking at doing that, and you're like, well, I have somebody who's really good and they would love to do that, but I don't want them to see everybody's giving. You don't see it. See, I never knew that. I've never done anything with an app or anything like that. So that's good to know that when you give, because that's the way we give. We give on the, I guess it's not the app. I just went to the website, went over to the give portion, and set it up that way, because I'm like everybody else. I do everything online now. But that's good to know that the person or the people who are operating that and running that, they don't have access to people's bank accounts and things of that nature, because let's just be real, sometimes you can have some volunteers in the church that you don't really know if they're not, I don't think that's you guys, but you never know of who some of the volunteers, what they're going to do with the information that they get. You know what I mean? Sometimes churches can have some I'm not going to say they're sketchy people, but maybe sometimes there are some sketchy people. You just don't know.
Motivation's questionable.
Right. And so it's good to know that if you're a pastor, especially with a small church, and you want to set something up like this, then it really doesn't matter who you have set it up as far as the financial part of it and the keeping all that separate. That's good to know. It's good information. That
I do know that in the financial platform, just because I had to sit on the initial calls of how all this works, it can be exported. Like they have a way that, like I think it's like Quicken, if you use that, you're able to export all the financials into the software that you're used to. So that's helpful.
So the Subsplash is something that's when you consolidate and went to just one. The other ones that you're talking about, what were they? Were they just like different ways that people could give, and you had all these different ways, and now it's just easier to go straight to the app? Or
so like with the Givelify, you had an app, but it was basically no more information.
Giving
only
Yep.
is all it was. You went to Givelify, you typed in our church, and then you just gave there. The text them all was like more of a communication thing, to where pastor could text everybody at one time, or he could set up groups and text the groups. Then he could put phone calls out. So like if he wanted to record a message, he used to send like voicemails or phone calls.
No more flyers. All of our events are updated, real time. As we need one, she updates, includes, it took away the text them all that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And the way that we communicate was just consolidated into one area.
Yeah. So now, I mean, on the app or the website, you have a calendar of events, you have the giving, you can watch our live stream, you can watch all of our previous services. Because we had YouTube, and we still have YouTube, just to reach a broader range of people. But it was all just one place that we could open one thing, and
Right.
that's all of the bridge.
Something that we've noticed too, that we've had people comment about, was that if they couldn't be in service, we have people, when we take up offering, or people that go in and take care of the finances. When they leave the service, they were able to live stream and watch in real time, the sermon, and they weren't missing the worship. And immediately when the app came out, we had them come to us and said, not to me, to her. because she's the one that's done the work. But, you know, thank you for that, because now we can leave and we're real time and we can watch what's going on in the service and not have to miss.
Because for us, we were having a hard time, like, people trying to find the live stream on YouTube. It was getting lost, like or they couldn't find it. We would try to link it up to Facebook, and people were still having trouble. So it's like, we just needed a way for everybody, for it to be accessible, readily accessible.
Kind of point everybody,
Yeah.
through that app rather
Yeah.
than through. So it sounds like some of the other ones that you guys have tried, sounds like they're good tools.
They are.
That maybe if you guys are at a point where like we really don't need an app, maybe you're a smaller church and the app is maybe not something that you're needing yet, and some of those other tools. It sounds like the text, you call it text them all.
Text them all.
The pastor would send a text message to, and it would come from a random phone number and we could not even see who was in the group.
Mm-hmm.
And it was somehow sent to whoever he selected. You know, he could select as many as he wanted. But a lot of times you would get the message and you're scratching your head, who's this from? Because it wasn't his number.
Mm.
So that's another thing the app does, is it
Yeah.
makes it more personable.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we are able with the app, there is a communication part of it. So I can create groups within the app, like I know the worship team has it, the young adults has it. So instead of having group texts that kind of overwhelm everybody, you can send out a message to all the young adults at one time and communicate that way. Even when you create an account and set up a profile, like I could text you using the app instead of going to like texting.
What's some of the price differences that you guys have found between some of those other tools, that just like the text them all, or some of the other things that are nice tools to have but didn't fulfill the need of that the app gives us? So what's some of the price differences there, if you can remember?
From what I can remember, it seems like that it was a wash really. Like by the time that we were paying for all of the different platforms, like condensing them, it may have been a little bit more, but it was more like the convenience was worth it. And so I
It
mean,
wasn't that much of a difference. The text them all was something that pastor set up. We didn't see with that, the expense and the cost of that. The Givelify, you know, that was another thing that we had to pay for. But as a whole, when we finished the app, whenever she finished and completed, it was comparable to the cost that we had.
yeah.
We went from all these different.
Because that was the one deciding factor. Because when Pastor and I first talked about it, it was like, well, if this is too expensive, we just can't do it. But when we got into it and started looking at everything we were already paying, it was comparable. If I'm not mistaken, they charged us like, it was either $500 or $800 for them to give us an account, basically, as a startup. But then for them to build, it was either, you have two options. Either someone can build it or we build it for you. And I think it was $1,500 if they built it for us.
So your startup is a little bit more. What's the monthly cost to operate
That's
something like that?
Yeah, and that's based on the giving.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
like if you had,
It's a
if I'm not
percentage.
mistaken, it was like
I think it's 2.5%.
2.48% or something like that. So it just, whatever is given. And that's how Givelify, like any of and I was dumb to that. Like, I didn't realize that anytime you use a credit card to give, then most platforms take a percentage.
Right.
But now on our app, you have an option, like let's say at the end of, you'll put in your giving, it'll ask you the question like, do you want to pay the fee?
Right.
So it won't take that fee away from the church. You're having to give a little extra.
Gotcha. So its pricing is probably similar to like what we do with like CCLI, which is all the lyrics and things like that. All that is based upon the price that you pay to the company. To CCLI is based upon how big your church is. So if you have a smaller church, you have a smaller fee. But if you have a huge church, then your fee's a lot bigger. So it's the same type of, okay.
Yeah.
What about things like Because I know a lot of times pastors they go visiting the people of their church that can't get out, or if they're in the hospital. Do you guys kind of help him with that, or is it more of like the role of our size church and the way we do it here? Is it more of you kind of take on some of the responsibilities from just within the church building itself? I don't want to say the building, but here on the grounds, to where it kind of relieves him to be able to go outside to make rounds or go to the hospital or things like that? Or how's that kind of structured? Because growing up, my pastor, I know that he was all the time going to people's homes, and he just, of course, our church, I don't remember how big it was. It was probably small, because when you're little, you think everything's large, and then when you grow up and you look back at the church, like, that wasn't very big, or that place wasn't very big, or whatever. But I remember him going and making a bunch of rounds, and as churches are growing, I think that's really difficult now, because one thing is, like us, we live a little distance away from the church. So if you have people like us in all directions, it's like, my goodness, pastor would have to, he'd only get done driving. He wouldn't have any time at all, unless you're like in an inner city, and where we're located is where we have a lot of people in many different areas. So I don't even know if that's something that pastor does or not. I'll ask him when we when we're having our interview is about how he structures that. But do you guys ever go and do hospital visits and things like that as an assistant, or?
It's definitely the latter. We would support him more in the role here in the confines of the church as he goes out and does that type of stuff, and he does visit and goes to the hospital and goes to family when there's a death in the family, and he's very involved in that manner. But you're right. Geographically speaking, we have people that are, 40 minutes in any direction, and it is hard. It is a challenge. And we'd mentioned earlier, we both have full-time jobs. The call is there, and in the future, I'd love to be more involved with that type of stuff. But with life and kids and, just to be honest, our role is more of just to support him in doing that. In the future, I'd love to be able to be out more visiting people and in that time of need. But that's down the road for us.
Yeah. With the more people you have, it's like the more needs there are. And so it's even becomes more important to get, couples like yourself involved in saying, I'll help, I'll assist. And like we were talking off camera, what's the difference between an associate and an assistant? I'm like, well, I guess it depends on your definition of associate and assistant, because here it's like it's no difference. Right. It's the same function. Right. And so you guys comment down below what you guys, as far as your church goes, how you're structured. Is your associate pastor and your assistant pastor, is it the same, or is there differences there?
But I feel like at the end of the day, we just all share in pastor's vision in trying to reach the lost and reach out in our community.
Yeah, that's an important thing, is to realize what the pastor's vision is and come up underneath of that. And sometimes that can be hard if you have like your own vision of what you're wanting to do, and you have to come up underneath of somebody else's vision. But I found that when you support somebody else's vision, then usually your vision gets supported as well. Yeah. So it's like when you can align yourself, as long as it's biblical, and all, we can say that sometimes things can just be kind of crazy. It's like we don't need to align with that or help with that, but that's not the case here, and it's not the case in probably most churches. But yeah, if you have your own vision, but you come up underneath the pastor and support his, then it's almost like the Lord puts it on your heart to support him, and then the thing that's on your heart that you want to see done, it's like he just turns around and supports what you're wanting to do. So I hope I didn't forget anything. If you guys think of something that you're like, hey, I'm an assistant pastor, and you didn't talk about this or you didn't talk about that, be sure you comment it down below, because we're all basically new to our positions here. I mean, you guys probably been doing this for a little while, but I know that you guys were placed, like formally placed in your titles, I guess you'd say. I was talking about the same thing as Deshaun. All of us were kind of put into the role of this pastorship at the same time, but all of us were already serving in those areas before. And I don't know how long you guys have been serving in that area before you had the quote title of it.
Probably about a year and a half.
I see, it was
September of
September of
2022. Yeah.
I struggle with the years,
Yeah.
but that was when we were put in as young adults pastors.
Yeah, and then we kind of took the role of assistant pastors and supporting the pastor.
Earlier than it was.
Yeah,
We were formally placed.
for more than a year, the last
Gotcha.
year. So yeah.
Gotcha. Well, guys, I appreciate your all's time. Thank you guys for coming in here, hanging out with me, let me ask you a bunch of questions. And I hope that this is being helpful to some of you guys. Like I say, this channel is basically, I just want to share it. I'm starting here with the Bridge with my home church, and I'm going to be getting out to a lot of other churches. I've already reached out to one pastor yesterday, and it's like, yeah, come on, I look forward to meeting with you. So I just want to go to different places and share what's going on. And as I get your guys' comments, I'll know a little bit more about maybe the type of content or maybe the questions that you guys are having that we can talk about. Because I want this channel to become something where we can grow together, learn together. And if we're at a place to maybe you're at like 50 people and you're growing and you're like, hey, that app sounds really good. I want to, if we can be of any assistance in that we can comment down below. We can maybe do another video that just talks basically about that. Or if there's something different that you've done and you've seen and you're like, hey, why don't you all try this out because it works awesome for us, comment it down below and let us hear what you guys are using. And maybe another church that's watching, another leadership that's watching will see that. So, and maybe it'll help them. So, that's what this channel is about, is just kind of getting all the churches together and seeing what we're all using in the technical part and the logistics part and all the stuff that not so much the message, because I think we're probably all preaching the same message.
If we're not, we should be.
Exactly, we should be. Yeah, if you're a Bible-based church and you believe what the Bible says, there's going to be some differences that we all have, but the thing that we all probably struggle with is like, we know how to preach. We know how to sing, we know how to worship, but what we don't know how to do is, how do I get the message out online? How do I make it easier for people to pay their tithes? Because nobody's writing checks anymore. The younger generation that's coming up, they don't even know what a checkbook is, and the person who takes up our offering and who counts everything, and they're used to cash and check, and how do you do Apple Pay? How do you do? Those are the things that I want us to be able to share, because that's the whole point of this channel. So guys, thank you guys for watching. Once again, if this is the content that you like, make sure that you like and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification button so you can be notified when we have another video, and we'll see you guys next time on Church Talk.